And it's a total of 5 points on the play for Jan Vallow. They took advantage of the fact that Tucker and Saunders were in the penalty box. Past the 3 on the track. This is the Bombers and Jolters coming your way. Exciting skating action from Kezar Pavilion, Golden Gate Park in the city of San Francisco. And after that last play, the score now is the Bombers 21 and the Jolters 20. It's Walt Harris and Jerry Seltzer calling the action. Wild, exciting game here between the Jolters and the Bombers. Jolters in the blue and the black, Bombers in the orange and deep brown. And here we go. Tucker moving Vallow away from the head of the pack. And getting out of there, Kathy Pulliam 30 at the rear of the pack. Tucker worked over by Vallow, who spreads her arms as everything was legal as far as she was concerned. Pulliam out leading on the jam, and there's her block from Gibbs. Pulliam pulling away. Here's Tucker puts Vallow up in the rail. Saunders takes a shot and misses. There comes Pulliam. She goes by Vallow for a point. Headlock in there by Vallow, and she's got Saunders and Tucker both now. And she bulldogs them both right down into the track. 1 point Bombers on the play, and there's Debbie Shaw getting it from Vallow. She goes to the infield, where Cal Stevens greets her. 22-20 is the score now. We have Bombers down. We have 3 girls down.
Well, everybody here is standing on their feet. It's just been a wild game right from the start. This Jolter team has just been revitalized. Last time in, they seemed like they were, last series against the Bombers, that they were down. But they're a big team. That men's team is something else. Everybody over 200 pounds.
Here we go again. There are 5 Bombers out there. There are 4 Jolters. Van Geneva puts on the pivot helmet. A big gal for the Jolters. Number 6. Baker gets out on the jam. The Jolters get the first jammer out. Debbie Joe is going to whip out Tucker. And here goes Deloris, number 34. Moving on Baker. Leg block. Elbow block. And Tucker did it with a vengeance, and away goes Deloris on the jam. Bombers lead by 2. No jammer out now for the Jolters. Baker is back in the pack. It's Tucker on her own. She is a pivot skater, but she has all the rights of a jammer because a jammer started at 60-second clock ticking off. Baker's back in blocking. Here comes Vallow onto the track, out of the penalty box, in time to help on this jam. She'll be rejoining in just a moment. Tucker back there, the only girl in scoring position, number 34, a Bomber. Baker blocking. Here's Vallow now. Vallow goes back again and again. She's way behind the pack. They warn her to move up, so she moves on up. No penalty called. Tucker moving in, Vallow again, and Vallow hooks her and puts her down. I don't know what she did with that left arm, but she turned into her away from the officials. Tucker went down like she's hit with a left hook. There it is again. And everything is legal, except for Saunders' viewpoint. Vallow inviting Saunders to hit her in the chin. She just might. No point scored on the jam. Tucker really battered in there by Jan Vallow. 22-20 is the score. Bombers lead by 2.
I want to remind everyone to stay tuned. At the end of this telecast, there'll be a special interview.
22-20 is the score. 2:45 to go here in the 5th period of play. First period in the last half. Both clubs at full strength. Here we go. Jan Vallow goes out on the jam. Let's see, and Tucker's whipped out after her. Tucker and Vallow on the jam. Here we go. Deloris Tucker, 34 of the Bombers, working the big Jan Vallow in the face mask there. Vallow to the inside of the block on Tucker now. Vallow's down about 30 pounds from what she weighed about a year ago. At least 30 pounds. Probably wishes she had it back right now. Tucker moving on Vallow. They're moving on the pack, too. And there's Saunders back there for the Bombers, and the fans are starting to stand up here in San Francisco. They've got Vallow. They're bouncing back and forth. There's Saunders in front. Tucker finishes her, and a point for Tucker. Now she's moving behind Saunders, blocking on Van Geneva. There's another point. Geneva over the rail, into the back. There they go. That goes 5.
Look.
Saunders leading the charge for Deloris Tucker.
Vallow is just in a rage there. She's screaming at everyone, but I don't know whose fault it could be except hers.
5 Bomber points, and they lead 26-20. And listen to this crowd whoop it up with Kezar in San Francisco. We have 1:18 to go here in the 5th period of play.
The Bombers' wall will be back at full strength with Margie Laszlo and Carol Meyer for their big series later this month against the New York Chiefs in Phoenix and Tucson. And we want to tell everyone on this network that they're going to see a game in their own city. Keep watching on this station, and when the game is kept in your area, you're going to hear about it right here on this station.
Here we go with the next jam. Ballow's going to go again. She's whipped out of there by the jammer, Terry Lewis. Ballow wants to get even. Facing Ballow is Debbie Joe. Not for long. This Ballow is something again on skates. She just monopolizes the game. Dan Ballow moving the pack. Deloris Tucker back to the block, number 34 for the Bombers. 26-20. The Bombers lead to 27 seconds to go in this period. Neva trying to give her teammates some help, but Tucker just keeps moving her up ahead. Tucker with another block. She dumped Neva. Now she's working on Ballow. Hooks her onto the rail. Puts a knee block into her. Geneva trying to get back there, but Saunders is protecting Tucker from Geneva. Another block by Tucker and into the infield. Look out! Shares into the penalty box goes Ballow. That is also the end of the 5th period of play with the score of Bay Area Bombers 26 and the Jolters 20. There's the skating action coming your way from Kezar Pavilion, Golden Gate Park in San Francisco. Walt Harris and Jerry Seltzer calling the action. Moving down to the 6th period of play. The men on the track. Chris Rowe is out on the jam. On the track, Jerry Cattell battling with Charlie O'Connell at the head of the pack. Big muscle man Cal Stevens out there for the Jolters. This is the big team. Cattell and O'Connell are still going at it out in front of the pack. There they are. O'Connell, number 40. There's Sean Watson taking a shot at O'Connell. And Cattell gets it from O'Connell. Now O'Connell's going after Sean Watson. Slams the big man into the rail. Sean Watson, a powerful built skater. Big shoulders, big arms. On the jam, Cal Stevens back there blocking on Chris Rose, trying to score. Number 32 of the Bombers. There comes Mike Moore, 40. He's moving on Pete Boyd, 36. Watson down on the infield. It's going to be passed for a point. I don't know who put him down there. I think it was O'Connell. No, he was not passed because Cal Stevens blocked Rowe into the rail back there. He gave Watson a chance to recover. Stevens showing you how tremendous he is. And he's put down by Pete Boyd now. But Boyd might have been passed by Moore. No. Moore hit the infield. And he went by, so there was no point scored on that jam. It remains 26-20. Fast and exciting action here between the Jolters and the Bombers. Back will be formed and the play will get underway again. If you're new to this game, it's a very easy game to follow. Jammers are the stripes in the helmets. They start from the rear of the pack. Now watch a jammer come out of that pack. Moving to the inside and getting out of the number 3, Ted Tauscher. 60 seconds started the tick off. The minute that man left ahead of the pack. Any jammers coming out now would have what's left of that 60 seconds. During that time, the jammers' jobs, these two out here now, is to get around that track, catch up with the pack. When they do, then for every member of the opposing team they pass, they will get a point. They actually would be lapping them. Pivot skaters can go out and do the same thing if a jammer starts at 60-second clock ticking off first. Right now, coming up on the pack is Tauscher, the first man out. He has 30 seconds left in the jam. Every member of the Bombers he passes, he gets credit for a point. But Pete Boyd says, you're not going to get any, number 36. Dan Sell coming up on the pack for the Bombers. And if he passes any Jolters, he will get a point for the Bombers. He's being blocked by Jerry Cattell, the big blonde tiger. Cattell puts him down. Cattell moving up now to help out his man Tauscher. Moves on Pete Boyd. Hits the moving wall, and Tauscher goes by for a point. Moves on O'Connell, and Tauscher goes by again. The blonde tiger doing a job for the Jolters. Tauscher might have had 3 points in there. He's put up on the rail by Pete Boyd. Pete Boyd holding. Three points for him, and one in the penalty by Pete Boyd is just clobbered by Cal Stevens. So a total of 4. 3 points on passes, 1 in the penalty on Pete Boyd. Makes the score 26-24. And look out. Stevens and O'Connell. And Boyd grabs Stevens as he goes to the infield. They're going at it over there now. Big 225, 230 pounders out there. Man, Stevens and Boyd. Stevens getting away from O'Connell, and Boyd grabbed him as he went by. Well, they get the pack organized. Let's see who goes to the penalty boxes. That Cattell, who did such a tremendous job on that play blocking, is a tough guy on the track, yet he's an expert in tropical fishing. Believe it? What a hobby for a big man like that. Here we go, in the penalty box. No, there are 5 Jolters out there, but there are 4 Bombers. Pete Boyd ends up in the penalty box. He was one holding originally on that play. 7:53 to go here in the 6th period of play. Mallory moving up. He has to get by Jerry Cattell there. There's the help that gets him by. Charlie O'Connell with a block in there. And Cattell, who takes off now in pursuit of Alvin Mallory. Big Jolter team. Cattell, Stevens, Sean Watson. Fans are screaming as Mallory's pulling away from Cattell. The big man can't catch him. But there's Cal Stevens now, number 8. Strongest man in the league. They've got Mallory in the middle now. O'Connell back there to try and break it up. Down goes Mallory. He's stunned back there. I don't think he'll make a threat again. O'Connell trying to get a shot at Cattell. Hooks him from behind. I can't see through the mass of skaters out there. I think O'Connell kicked Stevens as he went by. Here's Mallory going by Stevens, but I think O'Connell will be called for a penalty and the points will not be allowed. Mallory says, I got 5, and O'Connell's starting to rip back at these guys who are ripping up the place in the first half.
Walt, that last period tonight is going to be something to see. The way these teams are going at each other.
O'Connell and Stevens, Cattell, Pete Boyd, 26-26. There were 2 Jolter points in there on the play. Penalty on O'Connell, and Bill Morrissey's telling him to go to the penalty box.
Right after this jam, Walt, we want to try and tell the fans how they can get a free copy of the rules or also get on the mailing list. A couple of very important things.
Here we go, 26-26 is the score. 2 Jolter points in there. O'Connell in the penalty box. Bomber points were not allowed. So Pete Boyd comes on the track. Charlie O'Connell goes in. It's that kind of a game. Wild, exciting skating action here. Rough, tough Jolters. Stevens wants a jammer's helmet on. He took one away from Mike Marino, and he said he wants to jam.
That's not a bad move, Walt, with Charlie O'Connell in the penalty box. Puts a lot of pressure on Pete Boyd.
But Roman is out of there first for the Bombers on the play. And there comes the muscle man. Cal Stevens whipped out of there. That gave him the extra speed to catch Tony Roman. Off that whip, so the muscle man, Cal Stevens, strongest man on skates, is moving now. This guy is built like a rock. Bob Dansell's going to challenge him. Little Bob Dansell moving on the big man. Oh, that's a rough one. Now here's a man his size, Pete Boyd, but there's Jerry Cattell. Here comes Dansell again. Stevens will have to worry about him. 30 seconds left in the jam. He just hooks him over the rail. Cattell goes back. Pete Boyd gets away from him. Puts a block on Stevens. Here's O'Connell out of the penalty box in time to get into the action. There's Pete Boyd working on Stevens. O'Connell takes a shot at him. He moves Cattell out of there. O'Connell does with a block, and Pete Boyd slams Stevens again. Here comes O'Connell. Pete Boyd is down and passed for a point. O'Connell dumps Cal Stevens. Boyd comes after him, hits it, puts him down again. He has one, and he cuts it off. He's had enough, but he scored 1. Breaks up the tie, makes it 27-26. The Jolters lead the Bombers.
If you would like to understand the game better and get a free copy of the rules, put your name, address, city, zip code, and the station on which you watch the game on a postcard and mail it to Rules, Box 1828, Oakland, California, 94604. Also, if you would like to receive advance information about a game in your area, send it to the same address to mailing list, and you'll be put on the mailing list and receive advance information. That's either mailing list or Rules, Box 1828, Oakland, California, 94604. You can put your name on both lists.
Both teams at full strength. The Jolters lead 27-26. Here we go with the next jam. On the outside, moving Chris Rowe, moving fast, and he is out of there on the play. Whipped out of there in pursuit, Mike Moore of the Jolters. At the head of the pack, Cattell and O'Connell eyeing each other. Another jammer gets out. O'Connell puts a block on him, and then Mallory puts a block on him. That man was Ted Tauscher. He didn't get very far. Watson was blocking O'Connell. Back Cattell is dumped by Pete Boyd. Cattell up and moving again. Mike Moore takes a shot at Chris Rowe, hits him again. There they are, and down goes Chris Rowe. Mike Moore, the lead jammer. He belongs to the Jolters. He's got Jerry Cattell to lead the charge. They're talking to him now, trying to set up a play. Pete Boyd keeping an eye on the action, number 36. Chris Rowe still moving in the jam. He's about a third of a lap back. Boyd gets it in the back. He gets it, and he's put on the rail by Cattell. That's one. O'Connell gets it from Cattell. Moore goes around him, but O'Connell hooked him by the wrist and pulled him back, but I think he was physically around O'Connell. And a penalty on O'Connell for grabbing. And that'll be 2 points for Mike Moore and the Jolters. And there's Stevens down at the other end, putting a bomber over the rail. I think it was Chris Rowe. Time running out on the jam. That's it. How many points? 2 points, Jolters. 2 points, Jolters. They lead now 29-27 over the Bombers. Bombers picked up one.
Jolters really been using their strength in this period. They came from a 6-point deficit. At one point, they were trailing 26-20. They now lead 29-27. They've held the Bombers to just 1 point while they've had 9, and the Bombers are going to have to put it all together in those last 2 periods if they're going to get back in this one.
Chris Rowe just got back on the track, Jerry. And Cal Stevens kicked him right in the stomach, and O'Connell's trying to get at Cal Stevens now. Here he's coming after him. O'Connell chasing Stevens, who kicked Chris Rowe right in the stomach as he came back on the track that had been put over the rail a couple of moments ago. Fischel's tangling with O'Connell. O'Connell slugs into Fischel. Cattell slugs O'Connell. O'Connell is really steaming at Stevens, but he's getting it from Cattell now. Cattell is down. I don't know if they'll call O'Connell for hitting the referee or not. He was completely out of his mind trying to get at Cal Stevens. He's working over the Bomber skaters.
I don't think the referee will say he was swinging at him because he's swinging at the other player. Well, I've seen some football games in my time, but I've never seen football players hit harder than these men are hitting here in this one, and they go 35 miles an hour on their skates.
Let's see what happens out there. Officials trying to get this game organized again. Stevens had put Chris Rowe over that rail a moment ago, as we said, but then as he came back on the track, Stevens was coming around. He just reached out and kicked him right in the midsection. And Stevens was able to get away from O'Connell, so Cattell ended up getting the brunt of it. O'Connell to the penalty box. He'll be back in action in the 8th period. Cal Stevens in the penalty box. He'll be back in the 8th period. And Tony Roman on the jam for the Bombers. Being chased by Mike Marino, number 7 of the Jolters. Pete Boyd in the pack, hitting over the rail goes Marino. Put there by Roman, and out on the floor he goes. And Roman on the move here for the Bombers. The minute 3 to go here in the 6th period of play. Cattell back at the rear of the pack to block. Stevens on his feet in the infield. He wants his time up. He wants to get back into the game. There's Jerry Cattell waiting for Tony Roman, showing him the powerful right arm. Well, Roman's no fool out there. Watch him now. And there's O'Connell out of the penalty box in time. The deck. Get Cattell. He's going to get him again. Oh, Cattell goes to the infield to get around him. He wants somebody smaller like Tony Roman. Roman goes to O'Connell, and there he is. Now Roman goes back and gives it to him. Here comes Stevens. O'Connell is ready. Cattell wanted somebody smaller than Roman. He's chasing smaller than O'Connell. He chased Roman. Roman led him right back to Charlie O.
Well, the officials are going to have to keep this one under control. We got 2 periods to go in this game, and I don't know if they're going to be able to keep it in control. It's just going crazy here.
Here we go. Boyd is out there. Cal Stevens now. Boyd is out there. Cal Stevens. And Boyd runs right over a referee. Stevens going for his life here. Stevens is going out of here. He's going to the dressing room. Well, the 2 officials tackle Pete Boyd. Oh, man. That is the end of the 6th period of play with the score. The Bay Area Bombers 29 and the Jolters 29. This Walt Harris and Jerry Seltzer trackside here at Kezar Pavilion, Golden Gate Park in San Francisco. The Bombers and Jolters really hooked up in one here. Stevens chased to the dressing room by Pete Boyd as that last period ended, but he's got to come out and face him in the 8th period. Here we go. Deloris Tucker blasting through the 2 Jolter jammers. Deloris Tucker on the loose for the Bombers. The score here is 29-29. This is the 7th period of play, just getting underway. Deloris Tucker moving in the pack. There is Jan Vallow back there to block. Jan Vallow working on Deloris Tucker. Remember, the new member of the Bomber girls team is Rosetta Saunders, fired by the Red Devils and signed by the Bombers before this Jolter team could get a hold of her, matter of fact. Deloris Tucker picked up in there by Vallow. Dropped. No penalty. Who is doing the holding? Saunders goes back there to challenge Vallow. And she's pushed by Pam Geneva. Vallow goes after her now. Vallow with a left hook on Saunders. Saunders shaking it off.
Well, at the end of that men's skating period, you figure the action couldn't pick up. You almost hope for a release. And these women have come out, and they're skating just as hard. This has been a tremendous game, and I'm sure it's going to be that way right up to the end. That last period is going to be something.
29-29 is still the score here. Trainers checking with Deloris Tucker. And this Vallow is something again. I'd have to say that Vallow in the girls' field and Cal Stevens in the men's field have to be two of the most feared skaters in the league, Jerry. They're tough. They know when to hit. They know when to run.
There's no doubt about it. When they're on that track, things happen. Jan Vallow, I think, is going in for a little time in the penalty box.
Jan Vallow in the penalty box on the track. There are 5 Bombers. There are 4 Jolters. Rosetta Saunders puts on the pivot helmet for the Bombers, number 36. Kathy Pulliam breaking out on the jam for the Bombers, number 31. Chasing her, Barbara Baker of the Jolters. Other jammers are out too. Number 4 moving is Terry Lewis for the Jolters. Number 37 moving for the Bombers is Althea Gandy. Coming up on the pack, Pulliam. Saunders blocking over there on Baker now. Geneva with a block on Kathy Pulliam of the Bombers. Another block in there. Hard blocks in there. Saunders boring the blocks. Wraps her in the back lid. Wraps her in the face. Shoves teammate up ahead to give herself more blocking room. Saunders in the knee block on Baker. Hammers her again. Geneva put Pulliam into the rail. Baker goes to the infield. She's not by Saunders. Geneva back there to try and help. And Geneva trying to help move out. Tucker is passed by Pulliam for a point, but then also Saunders was passed by Baker. So it's a point each way, making the score 30-30. Quick, fast action out there on the bank track. Greatest skaters in the world today. You're looking at them right now. Back on the track, Deloris Tucker. Tucker was not in action in the last jam. She actually drew a penalty, and that's the reason Vallow didn't draw. When Vallow was not holding her over the hip, it says here, fine print, Tucker was holding on. That's why Tucker drew the penalty.
Kind of a strange interpretation of the rule, but I did see the referee signal that she was holding.
And Vallow is whipped out of there by the jammer, and is Tucker in pursuit. So here we go again. Jan Vallow, Deloris Tucker in pursuit. These two girls have been battling it out all night here, and there's a block in there by Tucker, and Vallow is down, and Tucker decides to move away. I thought she was going to go back after Vallow again, but Vallow's going to rejoin the pack. Vallow will be there at the rear of the pack as Tucker moves up. Jan Vallow, number 8, the big gal, back to the block, and here is Deloris Tucker, 34, trying to get Rosetta Saunders back there to give her some help. There's a broad arm lick in there, and another broad arm block in there by Vallow. Now she grabs her by the face mask. Grabs her by the helmet, rips her into the rail now. Vallow back there blocking. Here comes Tucker again. She won't quit. Deloris Tucker moving on Jan Vallow. Score here's 30-30. And she has her on hip again, and she drops her again, and they still say no penalty. It has to be one somebody's holding. And a block in there on Vallow as Tucker recovered, and she moves by for 3 more. A total of 4 in the play. Vallow was crowing about the fact that she had dumped Tucker, and Tucker had recovered and moved up fast. Put Vallow down, moved by behind blocking by her teammates, and got 3 more for a total of 4 on the play. And the Bombers lead now 34-30 over this wild skating Jolter club.
Well, they're going to be going at each other any minute. The way Tucker is one end of the track, Vallow at the other. It's going to break out.
There they go. Vallow after Tucker. And there's Saunders getting in there. Geneva getting in there. Here's Debbie Cho trying to pull Geneva off with the right hand to the head. And down they go in a heap. Vallow's the only one standing now. She's away from the heap. So Saunders going after and runs into a knee to the midsection and elbow in there by this roughed up Vallow. He now goes after her. Tucker. Tucker dives underneath her. And she went down. The officials grab Vallow. Oh, man, these gals, something again. They'll hand out the penalties, that's for sure. Probably be a minimum of 3 skaters in each team out there when this next jam gets underway.
Well, we want to tell the fans a little while how if they're a member of a public service group or a charity or something to do with the school and raises money for good purposes, they can have a game scheduled in their area. Remember, this is only for public service, and we're going to tell you how you can do it in your community.
There's been a lot of worthy organizations across the country that have benefited.
Well, we're proud of
the
the
game.
Provident Hospital in Oakland, $20,000. The city of Springfield, Illinois, Walt, built a park with funds donated by the Sertoma Club Race through roller derby games. A park in downtown Springfield, Illinois. And that's typical of schools and colleges all over the country and cities.
So here we go again as Jan Vallow on the move for the Jolters with 5:15 to go here in the 7th period of play. Jan Vallow on the move, coming up on the back, and there's Saunders and Tucker back to the block for the Bombers. Vallow tries to hammer. I thought she was going to through with her size, but they really locked in there. They can't hold hands on this block. They can cross him at the wrist, boy. They've got to be strong to keep this gal from blasting through there. They cannot hold on this block. Vallow trying to battle through there. Breaks away. Trying to pick up a little speed again. Here she goes. Probably coming out of the turn. No, she won't even wait for that. She just grabs them both. They pick her up and drop her. I don't see any penalty called. If Bill Morrissey's pointing a finger, he hasn't flagged anybody off the track. The Bombers are on the move. The Baker cuts off the jam. She got the lead cut off the jam, and Tucker slides right into Vallow, who's just getting up. No score on the play. It remains 34-30. The Bombers lead the Jolters.
If you would like to have a game scheduled in your area and you are a member of a charity group or a service organization or connected with a school and raising money for something to do with the school aspects, remember, only for public service, we would like to schedule a game in your area. If you have a gym at a high school or college or an arena that seats more than 2,500 people, write to bookings, Post Office Box 1827, Oakland, California, 94604. And remember, this is only for some kind of good public service.
And there they go. Vallow had Tucker, then Saunders got Vallow, and Akadiva's got Saunders, but not for long. And Saunders works him over. Rosetta Saunders and Tucker, what a combination they make out there in that track. Vallow started it all. She draws the penalty. I don't know if Saunders will get one for coming to her teammates' help or not. 34-31. There was a point in the last play by the Jolters. Tucker Saunders is in the penalty box. Vallow should be in there. There are 4 Bombers out there. There are 4 Jolters as Vallow takes a seat. They need a pivot skater, and they got it in Pam Kaniva, and here we go again. Baker is out on the jam and moving fast. 4 jammers are out. That leaves 4 skaters in the pack. Baker pouring it on now. Pulliam in pursuit number 31. The other jammers have fallen back near the pack. Back to the block for the Bombers. Deloris Tucker, 34. Pam Kaniva back there, number 6 for the Jolters. Kaniva working on Pulliam. Baker trying to get by Tucker. And that's a tough job. The road into Baker rode right into the Bomber penalty bench as Saunders got up. And I think Belder, I didn't see one of the trainers. O'Connell got patted Saunders on the back. He patted her so hard in the back he almost knocked her down. Baker still down in the infield. What a rough game we got going here. I still don't know what's happened out there, or who scored, or why, or where. We'll have to wait for the officials to untangle this one. Let's see what the officials say about that play. I guarantee you, I don't know what happened. Gator still going down. Vallow coming out of the penalty box. Tucker, or listening to the public address announcer, I cannot hear him from here. 1 point Jolters, 35-32 is the score. The Bombers lead by 3 with a minute 22 to go here in the 7th period of play. On the track, I think both clubs at full strength. I thought O'Connell was going to beat Saunders to death that time after
He was patting her on the back and patting her on the back. She almost fell over. And she suddenly realized they were still skating out there, and he came running on the track. It was really quite funny.
Yes, I imagine O'Connell's quite happy after the injuries to his girls' team to get a skater of Saunders' caliber. The girls' team has been quite weak since Carol Meyer and Laszlo were injured. On the jam, Debbie Cho. There she is moving in the pack, and there's Jan Ballo to block. Down goes Debbie Cho. He's up again. Tucker dropping back to give her teammates some help. Ballo belts her again. Boy, this Ballo hits hard. Another blocking again. There, Tucker squares off. They're going to right hand. No punch by Tucker, just a feint, and Ballo is passed to the point. Now Baker blocking on Debbie Cho. There comes Ballo. Ballo reaches in and grabs Debbie Cho around the waist. All four Jolters are holding her. Tucker and Saunders trying to fight their way through to get at Debbie Cho. They're pulling her through. They pulled her through. I don't know what they're going to say about points there. Althea Gandy tangling there with the Jolter skater. They were on the play. 4 Bomber points. That was correct. That is also the end of the 7th period of play with the score. The Bay Area Bombers 39 and the Jolters 32. Here we go now, moving into the 8th period of play with the men coming on the track. And the score here is the Bombers 39 and the Jolters 32. Both clubs at full strength. Big, powerful Jolter team. O'Connell looking for jammer. He's got Bob Dansell, and he whips him out of there, number 34. And in pursuit is Mike Marino, number 7, moving here for the Jolters. So each team has a jammer out and flying on the play. Pete Boyd and Jerry Cattell at the rear of the pack are hammering each other. Cal Stevens up front with a block on Charlie O'Connell. Action all around the track in this game. Dansell with a shot at Marino. There's the action in the pack. You just pick out an opponent and you let him have it. That's the kind of game this is here in this one between the Jolters and the Bombers. Dansell with the lead in the jam, and they're moving in the pack. Pete Boyd back to the block for the Bombers, number 36, and Jerry Cattell, number 9, moving here for the Jolters. He's keeping an eye on Dansell. There's his block. Cattell with a block, another block on Dansell. Another block in there. Dansell is the lead jammer. Farther back, it's Pete Boyd working on Mike Marino, the Jolters. Dansell is dumped. There's Pete Boyd now blocking on... There they are. There's Marino, number 7. Pete Boyd hammers him. Dansell moving in. Cattell meets him with the block. There's Dansell, 34. Here's Cattell with a good shot at him. A good shot there, picked up by our director George Lum with our fine cameraman Tim Kerrigan, Ross Davis and Ernie Fields, Al Nielsen, Dan Cervelli, remote crew, Stan Potter, our floor director.
I want to remind everyone, be sure and stay tuned to the end of this game, because Walt is going to be talking to one of these big bad Jolter men right at the end of the game tonight.
I think I'll get in a cage and talk to him, Jerry.
Boy, they're big. You've seen them out there, the Bombers this season with their biggest squad, and those Jolters. Look at the size of them.
Here we go. Mallory moving up, moving to the inside. He's out of there on the jam. Pete Boyd's going to go out. Pete Boyd's going out. There's a whip from Mallory. And it's Cal Stevens coming out of the back off a whip to chase Pete Boyd. So here we go. These two men are big enough to tear this building down by themselves, by their bare hands. Pete Boyd out. There's Cal Stevens right behind him. Elbow block in there, knee block in there, and Boyd is down. Stevens at blocking position. Muscle man Cal Stevens moving by himself now. 220 pounds of solid rock muscle out there. Jerry Cattell at the rear of the pack to block for Cal Stevens. They're signaling each other. They're talking, setting up a play. Pete Boyd back to the block for the Bombers, 36. Watch number 8. He's the man that can score. Every member of the Bombers he passes, he gets a point. There's a whip. He sails right through Pete Boyd. He's battling his way through for more. Blocking by that big team in there. Sean Watson. Ted Tauscher. Mike Moore. Jerry Cattell doing the job that time. Eddie Krebs comes on the track with a jammer's helmet. 39-36 is the score now.
You know, it's terrifying in a game like this, Walt. A man who has the size of Stevens, if he can get on the jam and get in there, he's almost impossible to stop because he's so fast. And he, like so many people, saw this game on television, had no idea of becoming a skater, and got in one of the schools and became the great star he is now.
39-36 is the score. The Bombers lead the Jolters. Eddie Krebs coming out of there, number 5, with Tony Roman. Here we go. Eddie Krebs, one of the great jammers in this league, has been out of action a year and a half with injury, just returning to action. I figure it's going to take him a few games to hit his stride, but he did pretty good with that block. Eddie Krebs, number 5, is a slim man, but he's big enough on skates that he can wear the pivot helmet. He used to wear it quite a bit before he was injured.
If you see, Walt, he's still got that brace on his right arm. He had one of the worst braces the doctors ever seen. They said he will never skate again, and here he is a year and a half later.
Eddie Krebs gets whipped from Cattell, runs into the moving wall. Pete Boyd, 36. Tony Roman coming up on Jerry Cattell at the rear of the pack. Both teams with the man in scoring position. Down goes Roman, put there by Cattell, who's had a big game here for the Jolters. Cattell with a block on Boyd, and there's a point for Eddie Krebs. Now it's O'Connell hanging on. No, he goes down in the infield, and Cattell falls over the top. Krebs still down. Roman blocked out by Cal Stevens. Roman cuts off the jam. What about the score on that play? Score goes to Bombers 40 and the Jolters 37.
I was a little surprised there. I didn't see how they could give a point to the Jolters and not to the Bombers. There's Eddie Krebs. He was just sitting down there kind of testing his arm. I don't care how much you've been training, and here he's never gained a pound since he's been off, but it's got to make a difference not being in competition for a year and a half.
You got to have that arm on your mind, too, when you take a fall like he did in the infield. Got to be protected. 40-37 is the score. The Bombers lead the Jolters. 6:50 to go in the game. Don't forget the interview at the end of the game. O'Connell up front. Blasted by Cal Stevens, who was trying to block him out of there. Chris Rowe is out of there because O'Connell was able to outmaneuver Cal Stevens. So Chris Rowe in the jam for the Bombers. Mike Moore, number 4, is the shoot for the Jolters. Chris Rowe, 32. Mike Moore, the block on Chris Rowe, and he's got him. There goes Mike Moore. Looks like a fine skater for the Jolters. At the rear of the pack, Stevens and O'Connell. Stevens to the infield, hit there by O'Connell. Comes back on the track. O'Connell and Stevens. Oh, there he goes. Moore cuts off the jam. Stevens was down. He could have been passed for a point by Chris Rowe. He swings a wild punch at Chris Rowe and ducked underneath him. 40-37, the score remains. Stevens has been working so hard. His jersey from around the lower part of his chest to his shoulders looks like it's saturated with perspiration.
Well, they are working hard. There's no doubt about it. He's lost a lot of weight this season. Cal Stevens must have dropped 30 pounds since the start of the season.
Here we go again. Bob Dansell out on the jam for the Bombers, 34. Eddie Krebs tries to out. O'Connell puts him on the infield. Spins up on the track, and he's back in the pack. Cal Stevens coming out to challenge O'Connell. Stevens is going to go on the jam, but he'll never catch Dansell. He can just hope his team will keep Dansell under control till he gets there. Jerry Cattell is back to the box, the big blonde tiger of the Jolters. O'Connell goes back there now to help out Dansell, but here comes Cal Stevens. O'Connell with the block on Cal Stevens. Hits him again and puts it down. Now O'Connell moving up to give Dansell some help. O'Connell gets ahead of Stevens, blasted Cattell out of there. Boy, give Dansell an inch and he's got points. O'Connell blasted Cattell out of it and paved the way for Dansell, who stayed on the edge of the track. He can't go to the infield, and he picked up a total of 4 points on the play.
If you would like to have information on how to become a skater in this great game,
so back to action on the track with the score 44-37. The Bombers lead 4:12 to go in the game. Here comes Alan Mallory, number 31 on the jam. Ted Tauscher in pursuit number 3. Each team of the jam are out on the play. Mallory still with the lead, 31. Right behind him, number 3 is Ted Tauscher. Cal Stevens back there blocking Alvin Mallory now. Tauscher being blocked out by Jim Cook, 38 of the Bombers. Jim Cook with another block on Tauscher. Cal Stevens shoves Mallory into the rail. Mallory to the outside. This time, Stevens slams him all the way over the rail. He's moving on Jim Cook now. Cook gets away from Stevens' first effort. Jim Cook, 38, keeping an eye on Stevens and Tauscher. He gets away from Tauscher, and it's Stevens decking. There's hanging Tauscher on the rail. Tauscher off moving again behind. This time, Stevens did the job. And on the outside, Dansell takes off with the jam. 2-1, that's it. Pete Boyd and O'Connell keeping Tauscher in check. I think he settles for the 1 point. That's right, 1 point Jolters. 44-38, the Bombers lead with 3 minutes to go in the game.
We had a little bit of a switch there, Walt. Here is the information on how to become a roller derby skater and enter a training school. You simply write to Training Center, P.O. Box 1827, Oakland, California, 94604. We'll send the information to you, the training center nearest where you are, and maybe you'll be a star on this great game on this same television station in your own hometown.
2:35 to go here in this period. This is the 8th period. It's the final period in the game. The Bombers 44 and the Jolters 38. Jerry Cattell has got the Jammers helmet on for the Jolters.
They're going to have to do something here, Walt. They need a lot of points fast.
Roman cuts in front of him, but both of them get out of the pack on the jam. Jerry Cattell, number 9, Tony Roman, 37. Cattell blocking position, takes Roman out of there. Spreads his arms and smiles, says, what a great job I did. He will pat himself on the back. Jerry Cattell moving here for the Jolters. Pete Boyd at the rear of the pack to block for the Bombers. Nope, he moves into the pack. Let's see who's going to do the job back there for the Bombers. Charlie O, number 40. Cattell signaling for somebody to get back there, but Pete Boyd skating behind Cal Stevens will not let him drop back there. O'Connell keeping an eye on Cattell. And it's Roman back with a jump block on Cattell. Roman wanted a piece of the action. Cattell gets it now from Charlie O. Stevens getting back there now where we might be able to help Jerry Cattell out with about 10 seconds of jamming time left. Roman comes back with a jump block. He leveled Cattell. Cattell takes a right hand swing in. Roman gets away from him though. Cattell, I think, chasing Roman just to catch him, not worrying about points right now. He wants to hammer him. Oh! O'Connell with one in the midsection of Stevens, and he is down.
Well, so much goes on at the track at one time. I think that was the best punch I've seen landed all season. O'Connell hit Stevens so hard it was unbelievable. These two men are heavyweights.
Rainer checking with Stevens now. No points scored on that play.
I'm sure O'Connell will be out for the remainder of this game if they call a penalty, but the Bombers with that 6-point lead, unless there's a big play, it's not going to make too much
40
difference.
seconds to go. Remember, this jam can go the full 60 if it gets underway. If the Bombers get the first man out, they can skate the game time out and cut it off. That'll be it, a win for the Bombers. Jolters will have to go all out. And I mean all out because they trail by 6. That's a big effort. Chris Rowe's out of there. He can just skate out the time on the clock. Mike Moore in pursuit. All Chris Rowe has to do is cut it off for a Bomber win. 18 seconds left. 15. The crowd standing here at Kezar.
They're yelling for him to cut it off, and the Bombers are holding.
He cuts it off just as he gets up there, and that assures the win here for the Bombers. He made the two jammers of the Jolters work behind him. Just as he gets up to the pack, he cuts off the jam. And salts away a win here for the Bombers. The fans really giving a good round of applause to the Bombers winning here in a real tough game against the Jolters. The Bombers 44 and the Jolters 38.
You got to say one thing, the women's field is definitely stronger now, Walt, and I'm sure we're going to see that the remainder of the season with Rosetta Saunders joining the team.
And don't forget, we'll have an interview here in just a moment. This was a tremendous game all the way between the Jolters and the Bombers in San Francisco. Wild skating Jolter outfit. They started out to take the place apart, and the Bombers fought them every inch of the way and came out with a good, solid win here. And the fans were on their feet at the end of the game, giving them a tremendous round of applause for their win over a tough Jolter club led by Cal Stevens, Jerry Cattell, Jan Vallow and company. Bombers win it 44-38. Tremendous, exciting game. You didn't get a chance to see all the action all the time, but it's that kind of a game. There's something going on around the track all the time. The final score again, the Bombers 44 and the Jolters 38. Up with me, Jerry Cattell of the Jolters, a team known as a wild skating team. And is this game as tough as it looks, Jerry?
You better believe it. You know, this Bomber team has always been a tough team in the league. You know, we just come off of the road with skating against the Pioneers and the Chiefs, and it says I've never seen a team so dirty as these guys out here today. I mean, you know, they're just dirty. They don't follow the rules at all in the league. You got pages and pages of rules. You think the Bombers would follow them? No, they try every dirty trick in the book. They cut me on the nose here. Charlie cut me on the nose. He didn't really use his fist, though. He used his fingernails. Who ever heard of a big, tough guy like Charlie O'Connell using his fingernails to cut a man, you know?
You talk about all those rules, Jerry. Have you read them through?
Well, yeah, I know. I've been in this business, 12 years now, and I know just about every rule there is. New ones come in every so often, and I keep up to date on most of them.
Well, why is it you say the Bombers are dirty, or maybe the Chiefs and Pioneers? Why is it that you fellas have a reputation in your girls' team for being a rough club?
Well, let's take it this way. You can be rough and still be legal at the same time. Now, if you watch the game closely, anybody who watches roller derby, if they watch the Jolters skate, now sure, we're rough, but we don't pull any dirty tactics like holding and sneaky little punches around. We skate legal and fair.
But how about the size of your team? Doesn't that give you an advantage over the other clubs? I mean, you're a pretty big guy. Cal Stevens big, Watson's big.
That's true. Now, we do have size. Cal Stevens and myself are big, and plus Eddie Krebs and jamming makes it a pretty reasonable team. But as you can see out there, there's a lot of new skaters out, a lot of new rookies coming in that they're trying to introduce into roller derby, trying to get going. Now, I hope we can shape the team around a little better. We're a little bit, we haven't gelled as of yet, and maybe in the future we'll get together and gel as a team.
So that's reason for this solid win by the Bombers tonight?
Yeah, I think so, Walt. Of course, you know, as you take the Bombers, they're sneaky. I disagree with all the fans around the Bay Area. They say, oh, the Bombers can't do nothing wrong. But if you were a skater and you were out there and you could feel the holding on the jersey and get the punches in the nose and all the sneaky little things they do, they'd know.
How about yourself for injuries, Jerry? You're pretty durable. You've been around some time, yet you don't seem to miss any games.
Well, as I weigh about 210 pounds, and it's pretty hard to injure a big guy like me. Plus, I've got big bones, and I'm heavy and solid. Now, it takes a pretty big guy to hurt me. I've had 3 broken noses and a few stitches. I might need some here. I don't know. In the 12 years I've been skating, but luckily I haven't had any major injuries. I'm lucky for that.
Jerry Cattell, thanks for talking with us.
Thank you, Walt.
Jerry Cattell of the Jolters. Well, there's a win here by the Bombers over the Jolters, 44-38. An exciting, rough game all the way, but that's roller derby. You've got action all the time. This is Walt Harris speaking from Kezar Pavilion, Golden Gate Park in the city of San Francisco.